Hi, I'm David, and today I'm going to give you something to think about from John, the 5th chapter. This is where today's devotional takes place, John chapter 5. Here Jesus is in Jerusalem for a feast, and he goes down to a public bathhouse, a place that's a pool, which is known as Bethesda. It's distinctive in the fact that it has 5 porches on it, so it was a very large structure. John tells us that there were all types of folks that were suffering from various illnesses and diseases and infirmities. And they were there because there was a legend that periodically an angel would come down and strike the water and stir it up. And whoever was the first in the water, after the waters were stirred up, would be healed. Now, was this legend true or false? Well, we really have no way of knowing. It doesn't matter. But this was a place where Jesus met a man who apparently had some form of paralysis. Apparently it had to do with his legs, his lower extremities. He couldn't walk, and he was lying there by the pool of Bethesda. And beginning with verse 5, John tells us the following. Now a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been in that condition a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I am coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. And that day was the Sabbath. It seems unusual that Jesus would ask the question of this man. Of course, you have to remember, too, that Jesus could look at a person and know their life story. That's the wonderful thing about Jesus. He knows everything about us. He knows our past sins. He knows what's on our minds. He knows all about us. He knows us intimately. And the reason why is because he made us and he's God. He knows these things. And so he looks at this man and he knows he's been this way for a long time. John says for 38 years. And he asks this man this question, "Do you want to be made well?" Again, it seems like a strange question because it seems that the answer would be obvious, right? Wrong. You see, the fact that this man had been this way for a very long time is something to take note of. It's the reason why Jesus asked the question. Because the life expectancy for a man in the first century in Judea was roughly about 55 years. And this man was probably getting pretty close to that age. He hadn't been paralyzed all his life, only 38 years. And we'll find out a little bit more insight into why he got the way that he was a little bit later on. But nonetheless, Jesus asked the man this question, and the man answers him and explains to him that, "Hey, look, sir, I have no man to put me in the water when stirred up, therefore I can't be healed. Yes, I'd like to be healed." And Jesus says to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And we're told that immediately he was healed. It wasn't some slow process like you might see in a motion picture. It was just immediate, just like that. Jesus said it, and it was. The man takes up his bed and walks. The reason why Jesus asked this question was because he knew that healing this man would have some consequences. All the favors and all the charity and all the alms that this man had received, which had sustained him for all these many years, was about to go away whenever Jesus healed him, because he would be well, he would be whole, he would be able-bodied, he would be able to work. Anytime you come in contact with Jesus, he's going to change your life. And he's going to put some expectations on your life too. One of those expectations is he expects you to die to sin. Later on, we're told that Jesus runs into this man that he healed, the man that was paralyzed. And in verse 14, we're told this: afterward, Jesus found him in the temple and said to him, "See, you have been made well. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you." Verse 14 explains a lot of things for us. The man was in the condition he was in because he had sinned in some way. Not sure if he caught some sort of venereal disease. Not sure, maybe he had been trying to rob a house or burglarize a house and maybe had fallen out of a window, or he had been beaten by maybe the homeowner and gotten this condition of being paralyzed. We're not told exactly, but Jesus knew his story. And Jesus warns him, okay, you've been made well, you've been given a new life, but you can't continue to sin. Beloved, you and I, when we come to Christ, we have to die to sin. We can't continue into sin that grace may abound. Paul tells us that over in Romans chapter 6 and verse 2. And so, the thought I want to leave you with today is this: has my life changed in regard to sin since I've known Jesus? Again, Jesus will bring change into your life. And one of those changes is death to sin. I'm David, and I hope today I've given you something to think about.